What's up, everybody? I decided to give you an impromptu masterclass on emotional eating because I have a minute. Somebody asked about it, and I will just give you all of the golden nuggets that you need to know to heal from emotional eating. Um, and so grab something to take notes. If you identify as an emotional eater, you're going to get gold for free in this training. Like I said, I sort of just mapped this out a second ago. But this is very informal, so if you have questions, let me know. I just figured that this would be something that would be helpful for you, and I have lots to share, so we're just gonna go for it. If I was the type of person who scheduled events and that was how I created my content for you, then this would be I would have asked you to RSVP or something, but this is just how I roll. I show up when inspiration strikes, and you guys are just along for the ride. So let me know what questions you have about emotional eating, but I'm just going to give you the top 3 things that I teach my clients that we do in coaching that helps them to heal from emotional eating and no longer identify as emotional eaters. So the first thing we need to do is lift you out of this place of shame. There's a lot of shame that comes along with identifying as an emotional eater because it feels like you cannot control yourself around food, like you're powerless to food, like you're a victim, and it feels like you're a slave to food. And so there is a lot of shame in that because it feels like a weakness. But I want you to know that you feel that way because that is how diet culture makes you feel, but that is not what's really happening. Once you understand the biology, some of the physiology behind what's driving you to eat, quote unquote, eat emotionally, there's nothing to feel shame about. And the reason we kind of have to start here is because it's really difficult, if not impossible, to create lasting change from a place of shame. You're always going to end up disempowered, and that's usually what contributes to all or nothing behaviors, because you can motivate yourself from a place of shame for a little bit, but it ends up being very unsustainable because you're bullying yourself. And that's not going to create an empowered narrative. That's not going to make you feel like you genuinely want the best for yourself. So that's why we move from shame to self-compassion, because compassion operates from this lens of I respect myself enough to genuinely want the best for myself long term. So with what feels like emotional eating, I want you to know that using food to cope is actually a very valid coping mechanism because it is sensory, so it's grounding. So it works to ground or to regulate a dysregulated nervous system. So if you are having a trauma response, if you are in a place of heightened anxiety or stress, if you have a dysregulated nervous system, then sometimes for people who have access, if you have access to food, that seems like the quickest, most convenient way to ground you. So that's actually a pretty smart, pretty effective coping strategy. It works short term, right? And that's a Band-Aid, and we need Band-Aids to stop the bleeding until we have the resources to get stitches and to get the surgery and to really do the thing that we need for permanent healing. But this is a Band-Aid, and guess what? There's utility in Band-Aids. They exist for a reason. So maybe that coping with food was your Band-Aid for now. And over time, we can work to either adopt new self-care coping tools and or figure out why we're turning to food, and it might actually be out of a physical need for food. So we'll get there. But anyway, so coping with food, actually a pretty benign coping strategy in the grand scheme of things. I'd rather have you have food than have nothing at all. And I'd rather have you have food than drugs, hard drugs, or you know what I mean? Come on, it's not the worst thing. Anyway, so you don't need to feel shame because coping with food makes sense. It makes sense. And it actually works short term, but it works. You are not weak. You're doing your best to survive. You are doing your best to create a sense of safety for yourself. Good job. Number 2, emotional eating, or what we view as quote unquote emotional eating, often is just eating out of a physical need for food. This will blow your mind. So this is often like where I need to start with clients who identify as emotional eaters. It's like, are you actually an emotional eater, or are you just not eating enough? And then you're having a lot of emotions while you're eating, but it's not actually the emotions that are causing you to eat. You're just having emotions while you're eating. So for people who are dieting or in a diet mentality, or who have lots of rigid rules and restrictions around food, they are consistently in this state of like chronic deprivation, chronically not getting their physical and emotional needs met. And those feelings of deprivation will cause anybody to feel like stressed, sad, anxious, grumpy. So it's possible that the emotions that are driving you toward food are caused by a lack of food, or a lack of satisfying food, a lack of nourishing food, a lack of pleasurable food, a lack of the foods you want. And then whether it's emotional eating or like binge eating, that is often just a compensatory response to food scarcity, to deprivation, to lack of nourishment. So it's like the body just trying to get enough. Literally, the body and the brain will work together to get you to get your needs met by way of increased food cravings, increased thoughts about food, increased food obsessions. The hunger hormone will ramp up extra when we are dieting. When the body perceives that there is food scarcity, it produces more saliva in the mouth, it produces more cravings, more hunger, more of your hunger hormones, in an attempt to get you to eat and to get you to find food quickly. And our bodies evolved in this way when there was legitimate feast or famine. And it's smart. It's super smart. Our bodies are wired for survival. You know this. Like, our bodies are amazing because they work to fight infection. They heal our wounds, right? Your body is wired to keep you alive. In any other setting, we can see this. Now, it's doing this with food too. So if you find that your body is giving you more signs and signals that you're like, why am I hungry all the time? It's like 99.9% because you're not eating enough food. And your body's just trying to be like, hey, we need something. And that's it. So if you notice, like, if you've ever been dieting and you find yourself thinking about food all of the time, that's not like an accident. That's because your body's like, I'm not getting enough of whatever it is. And then, of course, like, psychologically, food psych will tell us that the more we tell ourselves no, we can't have something, the more restriction there is, the more our brains fixate on it. Anytime, you tell a kid no, and then that's all they want to do. Like, whatever, you guys know that principle, like the permission and restriction. So anyway, back to emotional eating. If we are not like allowing ourselves access to the food that we want and need, and we are voluntarily creating an environment of food scarcity via dieting, via lifestyle changing, via counting anything, tracking anything, then yeah, what feels like emotional eating or binge eating is just trying to compensate for this lack of nourishment, lack of food, lack of satisfying food, lack of volume of food, lack of nutrition. So again, this is why I'm telling you, the shame around these behaviors doesn't make sense. Like, you don't need to feel shame because what feels like loss of control eating is actually logical. And it's happening for a valid reason. Number 3. Okay, so let's say we can check this off. Nope, I'm well nourished. I give myself access to the foods I want and need. And I'm not dieting in any way. I'm not counting, tracking, eliminating foods if it's not for a legitimate medical reason or an allergy. Then we can say, all right, so if we're still turning to food, it might be out of habit. We're habitually using food to cope, even if it's not out of like a legitimate need for food. That's okay. Like, that's okay. Maybe food is just one of our coping mechanisms, like something, because listen, food is emotional. My marker's running out, so forget that. Food is comfort. Food is tradition. Food is pleasure. Food is memories, right? So there is emotion wrapped up in the eating experience, and that's like a good thing. That's like a beautiful thing. So we don't want to rob ourselves of the emotional experience around food. So maybe in our self-care coping toolbox, we have, had a hard day. I'm going to make myself my favorite meal. That's emotional eating, and that seems to me like a healthy way to cope and comfort. And we also have bubble bath. We also have going for a walk. We also have reading. We also have stretching. We also have calling a friend. We also have scheduling an appointment with a therapist. We also have petting the dog. You see? So we can build up our self-care coping toolbox. I'm pointing to like my imaginary words because my marker ran out. We build up our coping toolbox so that we are prepared. We have this strategy of like, okay, here's the two questions to ask. What am I feeling right now? What do I need right now? So first, we identify the feeling, we identify the emotion, and then we identify the need. So many of us are completely disconnected, certainly from what we need, but we're disconnected from what we're feeling, let alone even getting to the what do I need. So in order for us to get our needs met, let's trace it back to, well, what am I feeling? And then what do I need to do to cope with this uncomfortable feeling? So step one is to identify, if you're taking notes, write this down. What am I feeling right now? So if you find yourself turning to food, or you're coping in a way that feels destructive to you, take a breath, be mindful, check in. What am I feeling? Like, what's going on? Why am I frenzied? Why is there chaos? Okay, and then we can say, I'm feeling, and if it helps, you can Google, like, list of emotions. So then you can be like, it's not really that. It's not really depression. It's not really, like, anxiety. Oh, you know what this feels like? This feels like grief, maybe. Or this feels like loneliness, right? So sometimes it helps to have that suggestion of, like, what are some options? Like, if you are very much out of practice of knowing what it's like to feel your feelings, or being able to label those feelings, right? Do you know how like validating it is when you have somebody mirror back to you or to speak like, oh, it sounds like what you're feeling is this, and you're like, yes, that's it. You took the words right out of my mouth, or you put words to something that I couldn't put words to. This is why I love working with professionals, like working with counselors and having my own therapists and coaches, because they're able to do that from an objective place, and they're able to help you put words to your experience, and that is so like validating and gratifying. It helps move you forward because it creates awareness. Because how can you make change, positive change in your life? How can you get to where you want to go if there's no awareness, right? If you don't even know where you are. So we have to identify where we are. What are we feeling? And then we can go, where do I want to go? What am I feeling right now? I'm feeling, I'm feeling hurt. I am feeling betrayal, right? Okay, so once we can acknowledge, this is really what I'm feeling, and then what do I need? What do I need? You deserve to have your needs met, and when you are able to build up your self-care coping toolbox, you learn, this is what's so cool, you guys, you learn how to self-soothe so that you can mother yourself, you can nurture yourself, you can parent yourself through difficult situations so that you no longer need external sources. So you ask, what do I need right now? And those needs could range from support, it could be dealing directly with the feeling, it could be maybe you need distraction, right? So there's a variety of things, there's a variety of categories that usually I'll use with clients so that we can start to identify, what are some of these things that I might need? And then you write down or you create, like, again, this toolkit, this toolbox for yourself so that next time when you find yourself turning to use a coping mechanism that doesn't align with your values, let's say, then you can say, well, what am I feeling? I'm feeling sadness. Oh, this is what I do when I'm feeling that way, or these are my options, or this is what I've done in the past so that you don't have to exert brain power effort to be like, we gotta create like a new behavior. It's like, no, we already know what to do. So you're gonna be prepared next time. So we build up these strategies. And then the last thing, you know what, I'm gonna actually go back to number one and add something to this. Something that helps us, because since shame doesn't create meaningful, lasting change, one thing we can do to help lift us out of this place of disempowerment and shame is to do this exercise that's called helped versus harmed. I really wish that this marker was kind of working. Okay, help, you can sort of see. So you would get out a piece of paper, you could fold it in half, and on one side you write help, and on one side you write harm. And I want you to write down the ways in which coping with food has been helpful to you. So you could say, okay, brought me comfort when I had nothing else, or it brought me pleasure, it tasted good. Brought me distraction when I could not be, when it would hurt too bad to be present. Harmed could be, I ended up feeling physically sick after eating past the point of fullness. You know, things like that. But then we can at least see that this was not all good, not all bad. And one thing that holds us back from making sustainable health promoting behavior changes is all or nothing thinking, black and white thinking. So if I'm a black or white thinker, an all or nothing person, then I'm gonna see my emotional eating or issues with food as like all harmful, and that's gonna keep me in this place of shame. So at least this is a step in the right direction to be like, wait. There was some utility to this, and that's what I started this training with, was to see that, oh, actually, wait, you using food made sense, and here's the reasons why it made sense, right? And for you then, though, that yeah, I can, you know, that's just my, from a professional standpoint, what I'm able to say, but you making this personal for you, I want you to write down, like, this is how it helped me in my life based on your individual circumstance, and then this is how it harmed me in my life, again, based on you as an individual person. So then, you know, that's a good place to start. So if we're going to permanently heal our relationships with food, we're moving out of the all or nothing mentality. Because let's say you were like, I want to heal my relationship with food. I am all in. Great, love that energy. Love that for you, want it, need it. But we want to make sure that this isn't going to be another thing that you're just like, yeah, like jumping all in, and if I don't get it exactly right, then you're back to the nothing, right? That's usually what happens with dieting, is it's like, I'm all in, I'm gonna kill it, and you hold yourself to this very high unrealistic standard of like counting calories or macros or whatever, and it's like not realistic, it's not customized to your lifestyle, it's very cookie cutter, and it's not meaningful to you, somebody else is ordering you to do it. So like there's a variety of factors that we want to consider that drive the all or nothing mentality. The all mentality can serve you. In some ways it makes people very dedicated, right? But I'm curious about what are your intrinsic motivators and what are your values, and whatever you're working towards, what's driving that, and is that going to last for you, right? I don't believe that short-term fixes, like quick fixes, I don't believe that that is valuable, because to me that's a waste of time. It's a waste of your resources, time, money, and energy. Because if it's not going to last you, if it's not permanent, then to me that's such a shame. So if we're going to create behavior change or work towards health promotion, I care deeply that this is going to be something that's going to serve you and last you. Okay, anyway, I'm done. I'm done. If you guys need anything, I still have spots open for November. I'm enrolling for one-on-one coaching. So if you are ready to heal your relationship with food for good, to heal from binge eating, emotional eating, yo-yo dieting, body image, I would love to chat with you and just see if we might be a good fit to work together. So let me go ahead and I'm going to look at some of the questions right now that rolled through, and then I am going to include the link here in the comments to my application. It's just like some questions to see where you're at, what you're wanting support in. And we can get on the phone and just see if I might be the best person to help you. And if not, then I'll give you recommendations for next steps. So no pressure. And I'm more than happy to especially talk with people in this group because I love you guys and this community means a lot to me. So I would just love to like connect with you if we've never met. one-on-one, I think it'd be super cool to just hop on a Zoom so I can put a face to your name and hopefully facilitate your next steps. All right, you guys. So let me know what you need. Thank you for being a part of this group. Let me know if this was helpful for you, because I'll hop in and do more of these. Maybe I'll make them more structured next time and like actually create an event and not just hop on whenever the heck I feel like it. All right, you guys. Love you. Have a great day.